Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be all about foam rolling, specifically for the upper portion of your leg. So let's focus on the four areas we're going to be working on: Piriformis, IT band, the T.F.L, and the Sartorius. The first one is the Piriformis. Now this is located in the buttocks and it extends out towards your hip. Now this muscle is important because it helps stabilize the hip and it's responsible for lifting and rotating out away the thigh from the midline of the body. Now if you're, depending on your mechanics, this area can become very, very tight. And most people don't even realize how tight this is. And because of its placement and the fact that it somewhat overlaps the IT band, it can really be an exasperation and difficulty for movement and, of course, pain. We'll talk about the IT band next, but let's talk about that piriformis and how do we foam roll it. So once again, that piriformis, it's located here and it comes right through here. And it's responsible for this type of motion. Remember, stabilization of the hip, lifting, and outward rotation of the thigh. Okay, so how do we get on this guy? We're gonna have a seat. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cross over one of your legs. So I'm going to pick up my left. Now when you do this, you'll notice I'm rotating and putting as much pressure onto that left hip. I'm going to roll down, and then I'm going to roll back, forward and back. So what I'm doing is I'm looking to see if I can find, there it is, if I can find the most tension in that buttock area with the piriformis. And then once you're there, you stay on it. Now, a lot of times people will saw back and forth, and I guess if you really have to because it's that uncomfortable, that's fine. However, the idea of this SMR, self-myofascial release, foam rolling, is to find where the tension is, where the tightness is, put pressure on it until the organelles that are in there release. So by going back and forth, you're just driving over a speed bump over and over and over again. You guys stay on it. All right, once that's released, we go ahead and we move a little bit. There it is again. You'll know it. You'll know it because it doesn't feel good. But this is what we're going to do to try and make sure that you feel good further on. All right, once you find that there's no more tension in that area, we'll go ahead and just simply roll it over. Now for me, right out the gate, this is not comfortable. So that lets me know that my right side, my right piriformis, is tighter than my left. And I'll stay on this. And however long you want to stay on it, and actively looking for the most tension is entirely up to you. So if you're there and it's super painful, and I've seen people perspire, come off of it, get off target, ease off a little bit. Maybe you need to work a little bit more on the outside of what is actually where the tension is so that you can move into the tension. But whatever you do, stay on it as best as you can and keep breathing. All right, moving right along, we're going to go ahead, we're going to talk about the IT band. The IT band, or the iliotibial band, it's a longitudinal fibrous reinforcement of the fascia lata. Okay, so what does that mean? That means it starts up basically at the hip and it extends down just below your knee. It's responsible for extension and also abduction of the thigh. But here's where it gets most runners. It can also impact knee stabilization. So if you've ever been somebody that's ever had knee discomfort and your trainer or your coach and they've said, hey, have you tried foam rolling your IT band? This is why. All right, now something interesting to know is where that IT band comes down, here's the hip, right? Comes down, like I said before, the piriformis goes from the midline of your buttock to the outside of your hip. These two cross. So you can see where if you have one or both that are very, very tight, it could cause a lot of discomfort and pain. All right, so let's take a look and see how we do this guy. Okay, we're coming up alongside our foam roller and we're gonna place that foam roller perpendicular to our hip. So I'll start off with my right hip because that tends to be the one that tightens up for me. Okay, so we are gonna be squared up on this. We're not gonna be forward, we're not gonna be back. You can push your foot here, you can press down as much as you want. Now just like the last exercise for the piriformis, We're gonna go in one direction. We're not gonna seesaw unless we absolutely necessarily have to because of the discomfort. Okay, let's go ahead and hit this guy. Trying to maintain as much pressure as possible on that. Now say, I am tight. So I can start sensing it in my knee. I'll stay there and I'm gonna wait until that discomfort downgrades a little bit. No seesawing. And definitely, obviously, breathe through it, okay? For the purpose of this video, we're just gonna continue to move on. But for me, I would stay here probably another 30 seconds, 45. And then slowly get going. Now, here's what's gonna happen. It's gonna become more and more uncomfortable. And you gotta do as much as you can. You're not gonna hurt anything. Just roll it down. Small little increments until you get towards your knee. Once you're there, you can either get up, come off, if it's too uncomfortable, or slowly come back. All right? Remember, we're not gonna go forward, we're not gonna roll back, we're gonna stay squared up onto this foam roller. The IT band foam roll is probably one of the most, I'll just go ahead and say it, probably the most painful ones that you could ever experience, but it's also one of the ones that's gonna give you the most benefit after you get it done. We have to make sure that we lengthen that area out and we loosen it up so that you don't have the excessive friction that causes IT band syndrome. So the next one is the tensor fascia lata, or the T.F.L. Now the T.F.L. has a similar function and approximate location to the IT band, and is responsible for hip flexion. And if this is tight, this can also lead to a series of discomforts and problems for the body, including up to low back. So we want to make sure that we have our hip flexors are open. Very, very important for a lot of repetitive sport people, especially runners, soccer players, cyclists. We want to make sure that we keep these areas open. So how do we open this guy up? All right, it's going to look kind of like the IT band at first, but then we're going to go right into the T.F.L. I'm going to line myself up again, but this time what's going to happen is instead of being perpendicular to the foam roller, I'm actually going to rotate a little bit until, once again, I find a point of discomfort. So I'm here, I'm going to come down, right about there. So it's not truly 45 degrees, but when we're talking about angles and degrees, sometimes saying something like 45 degrees makes more sense to somebody than, say, 27, right? So act like you're going to go about 45 degrees on the foam roller, and just like we did with the IT band, we're going to start at the top, and we're going to work our way all the way down, all to one direction. No seesawing. Now this is not that bad for me because I've already worked on it, but normally, right after the IT band is when I would jump into this guy, and that's when it really starts to kick in. All right, right about there. Let me go ahead and rotate here. So once I get to this position right here, now I'm starting to feel it. Now I'm gonna stay there. This is not bad. If you can get about halfway down your thigh without discomfort, that's a good thing. If you start at your thigh with discomfort, that means that you really have a shortness of that area and it needs to be addressed. Okay, another way that we can go ahead and we can make this work is once I get to that point where it's tight, I'll bend my knee very slowly. If it's something that feels too overwhelming, too much discomfort, obviously don't do it. But if you can, little move, let your leg relax, and then slowly bend that knee. And that's going to loosen up that T.F.L. So you can do the foam roll exercises pretty much every single day. It's almost impossible to overdo it. The more flexibility and range of motion that you have, the better off your body's going to be. So we hit the Piriformis, IT band, T.F.L, and Sartorius. All four of these play a very major role in how we move, and they can also play a part in low back discomfort. Remember that if the hip flexors are too tight, the pelvis is going to anterior tilt, which causes a little bit more of a curvature and compression in the lumbar, and that's low back discomfort. All right, that's our video for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe, share the video, leave me some comments about additional content that you want to see in the videos. And as always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of those around you. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.